Hello students. So today we will be starting with our third chapter of our module, that is design of beams. We have already completed singly reinforced beam, doubly reinforced beam, and we will be moving towards T-beams or flange beams from today onwards. And as we compare these three chapters or these three topics, this topic is somewhat difficult to understand, or rather we can say it is somewhat complicated to understand. So watch this today's video properly, because we will be solving the equations that we'll be using in our numerical. So first of all, we will go through that what is actually a T-beam. So we'll be going through that what is an actually a T-beam. So here we can see that a T-beam can be known as a monolithic structure. Means, for example, it is basically derived from its shape. The shape of beam will be something like this. That means a combination of, this is the slab portion and this is our beam portion. So the combination of beam and slab, if we cast it together, it is known as a T-beam. First we have seen a singly reinforced beam, that was simply a rectangular section with tension reinforcement provided in the tension zone. Then we have seen a doubly reinforced beam, that was again a rectangular section, but this time the cross section were provided in the tension zone as well as compression zone. This will be our T-beam. This portion will be our slab portion and this portion will be our beam portion. In the recent construction scenario, this beam is preferred over the two cases. That means T-beams are casted in regular intervals rather than to cast a singly reinforced beam or a doubly reinforced beam. Why so? Because here we can see that it is a monolithic structure. So the concrete pouring in slab and concrete pouring in beam can be done simultaneously. That reduces the time of the overall construction. So it is the most preferred form used in recent scenarios. Now if we go to the technicalities, or if we go into deep regarding how T-beam actually looks, so this will be the structure that we will be dealing with. The center portion is our actual T-beam. Here you can see that there are various terms, we will be going through it. The steel bars are provided in the tension zone, and the left hand side and right hand side portion, you can see it is termed as L beams. These are also called corner beams. So the intermediate beams will be our T beams and the end beams will be called as L beams. Both the functionalities are same. The upper portion is of slab while the vertical portion is of our beam. Here you can see that there are various terms that have been displayed on your figure. We'll be discussing that. For example, till date or till today we were discussing basically two terms, that were B and D. That was our width and depth. But now we will be discussing two types of widths, that is BW and BF. We will be discussing two things, the BW and BF. Now what is BW and what is BF? The horizontal portion of our T-beam, that means the horizontal portion of our slab, is known as a flange. We'll be using this term throughout our chapter. So the horizontal portion of our slab is called a flange and the vertical portion is called a web. So we'll be dealing with these two terms, that is a flange and a web. So you can see here that it is mentioned as BF, that means width of flange, and the bottom width is mentioned as BW, that means it is called width of web. And it is given as a term DF, that is a new term for us. DF stands for depth of flange, or you can also say thickness of slab. Both are same. Again, BF will be width of flange, BW will be width of web, and DF will be our depth of flange. And these are the main reinforcement that we have already seen, and we have to design again the same thing. Now actually functionalities that we will be seeing. For example, this is a T-beam. We have already discussed this width is termed as BF or width of flange. This portion is termed as DF or depth of flange. Consider area of steel or AST to be provided at this depth. So from top of slab, again in the previous two chapters we were considering top of beam or from the top fiber of beam, but here the actual loading starts from slab. Yeah, so we'll be discussing or we'll be taking the effective depth from the top of slab, not from the top of beam portion. So the effective depth will be from top of slab to the steel provided. So this will be our effective depth, and this top of beam to bottom of top of slab to bottom of beam will be our overall depth, that is capital D. Now here we need to discuss two things that are very important. It is not prescribed in our textbooks clearly, but we will be following it to know our equations better. So considering this to be our T-beam, it is divided into two parts. How? Because a T-beam is a specific shape that CG can't be obtained directly. For example, in MOST or mechanics of solids, you have already seen that to find CG, we need to divide portions. For example, the basic functions or basic shapes are either a rectangle, either a triangle, square, circle, etc. So a T can be divided into two parts to find its CG. It can be formed into two rectangles. So here rectangle can be formed by two methods. The first method is to cut the T from this section, and this will be considered as section 1 and this will be considered as section 2. This is our first method, but we won't be implying this method in our entire chapter. Why so? Again, this is very important, why we are not cutting or why we are not using section from this way. As we all know that loading is applied in the downward direction. So assume a UDL is applied in this form. So the load is applied on slab. Here in this case load is not directly applied on beam, it is first applied on slab. So the load gets transferred from the top fiber of slab to the bottom fiber of slab, and the bottom fiber of slab is our top fiber of beam. So when the load reaches the beam portion, again when the load reaches the beam portion, it is being resisted somewhat in some quantities by the slab. So we won't be getting the exact value that how much load is applied on this section or how much load is transferred to this section. Yeah, so we won't be using the section this way. We will always be taking our section, or we will be cutting our T-beam in this way. That means this will be our section 1 and this both remaining portions will be our section 2. Why so? Again, if we apply load from the top of our slab, then the load gets directly or load is direct in contact with our part 1 as well as part 2. So we won't be incorporating the losses that we have seen in previous section. Clear? So in this case the load is directly transferred to both the sections. So it is the most preferable way of taking sections. Now if we can see it clearly, if we only take this section 1 and we forget that there is any section 2, so this section 1 becomes a rectangular beam. Yeah, this section 1 becomes a rectangular beam. Again, steel is provided only in this case, that is our single T-beam. So if we take this section 1, it will be a rectangular section with steel provided in tension zone, so it will act as a singly reinforced beam. Yeah, so our section 1 will always act as singly reinforced beam, and our section 2 will be full of concrete. There won't be any tension reinforcement in our section 2 in the case of singly T. There are two portions, singly T and doubly T. Doubly T we will be looking in the future lectures. Now we are focusing on singly T. That means the steel bars are provided only in tension zone. So in this case our section 2 will only comprise of concrete. So we need to see two type of stresses. The first one will be the tensile stress due to steel, and second one will be the compressive stress due to concrete. So the tensile stress due to steel will always be in the first section, and the major compressive stress due to concrete will be in the second section. And this figure will be very helpful in solving the stress strain diagram. Again, we have seen a singly reinforced beam, we have seen a doubly reinforced beam, and now T-beam. The chapter starts with a diagram, that is our stress strain diagram. So now we will be looking at the stress strain diagram. So this will be a stress strain diagram for a T-beam. As we have discussed earlier, there are two sections we need to consider. The first section will be a singly rectangular, and the second section will be our slab portion. So we always need to cut our section in these two forms. That means the first section will always be our singly section, and the second section will always be our slab portion or the flange portion. So looking at the stress strain diagram, we can see that the stress dia is the same. There is the strain dia. The strain dia is the same. There is nothing changed that we have seen in the singly reinforced beam. All the values are same. So you need to remember this very easily. Now moving forward to the stress dia. Again, there will be two types of forces. That there will be a compression force C and there will be tension force T. Now compression force will be acting in both the section, that is our section 1 and section 2. Section 1 being singly reinforced, so the quantities or the parameters that we have used in singly reinforced will apply in this case also. So for singly reinforced, the equation, if you can remember, for C1 it was 0.36 FCK BXU. The same thing will be applied here. So for C1 it will be, the equation will be 0.36 FCK BXU. Why? Because it is just the case of singly reinforced section. The change will be in C2. C2 is compressive stress due to concrete on slab. Compressive stress due to concrete on slab. And for that we need to see the area that is being incorporated. So again, if we see in this figure, this was the section that we have taken. These are section 1. These both were our section 2 that we have discussed. Zooming onto it, we can see here we have continuous action in this form. This was our section 1, and this H portion will be our section 2. Now generally if we need to find force, so the equation of force is always equal to stress into area, because sigma, that is our stress equal to force upon area. So if we equate force, it will be P equal to sigma into A. So if we need to find compressive force, we need to apply this equation. Now we'll be looking at the section. So this dimension, as we have discussed, is BF, that is width of flange. This dimension is our BW. This will be our section. So if we need to find the length of the H portion, it will be BF minus BW. If we take out this middle portion, it will be our effective length. So the total length will be BF minus BW multiplied by its depth. If we need to find area, then what we need to do? We need to multiply length into depth or length into width. So in this case, length will be BF minus BW and the depth will be our depth of flange, that is DF. So the area, we can say that it is BF minus BW into DF. This will be our area. And now as we need to find force, as force equal to stress into area, the stress here will be this. Yeah? So the stress here will be our maximum compressive stress, and as we all know that maximum compressive stress is 0.446 FCK. So the final equation will be 0.446 FCK BF minus BW into df. Now how this equation came, we already have derived it. This portion is our stress sigma and this portion is our area A. So force is equal to sigma into A. Yeah. Now moving on to the tension part. That tension part, that is our capital T. And as we know that steel is provided only in one section, so T will be equal to 0.87 Fi AS T, that we have already seen in the previous chapters. Clear? Now looking at the lever arm, as our first section is a single section, the lever arm for single section will be same, that is Z1 will be equal to D minus 0.42 XU. Now Z2, that will be our lever arm of the slab portion. So for this we need to find the relation. So as the depth of slab is df and as it is a rectangular section, the CG will be at the center of df. So considering this to be our slab, this depth, the total depth of slab is df, and as it is a rectangular section, the CG will be at center, so the distance from top layer will be df by 2. So the compressive force C2 will be acting at this point. Now again, from top of slab to the steel provided, the depth is d, that is our effective depth. So from this case, the distance between this C2 and T will be d minus df by 2. So for our Z2, that is for our lever, second section, we always will be taking Z2 equal to d minus df by 2. Now we'll be looking at the summary that what we have seen till date. First, the T section. So the section we have cut here will always be in the form of vertical rectangles, that is this will be our first part and this will be our second section. Keep in mind the sections are taken in this way. Why it is taken in this way? Because the load is applied or load is to be transferred from the top of slab. So section 1 and section 2 both should be in direct contact with the load. So we are cutting or we have took section in this form. So we will see in the next lecture. Thank you.